Okay, welcome to today's design session. I'm Amisha Victor and I'm going to be taking today's tutorial. So, ideally, this was supposed to like hold last night, but then I was not available then. So, which is why I'm trying to like make up for it now. So, today, without much ado, what I'm going to be trying to replicate is actually like this I don't know what to call it, maybe canvas like interaction or something like this thing. Once you hover over like any empty section, like there's an image that comes up and then it just like falls away as soon as your mouse moves out of view. So that's what I'm trying to like recreate here. I think the original inspiration was actually gotten from this site. So I think it's called anagram.club. So yeah, this was where I originally got the inspiration for this stuff. So you can see that once I hover over over like a different, move my mouse around, I different image shows up and then like it falls away as soon as I move out of view. Originally, the one I was able to come up with had that effect, but I felt like it felt too busy. It felt too busy for my own personal liking, so I just went for this more cleaner looks. But then I'm going to show like how I was able to achieve this, and you can go ahead and just play around and create like what you want to create by yourself. So I have a couple of components I set up for the different types. I think this particular one, let me see. I think this particular one has here the three cascading effect. So you can see that this one, like I said, once I move my mouse away, it falls out of like three of them fall out of view. So that was what I was able to come up with initially. But I think, like I said, I prefer the look of the other one. But then let's just see how this one will. Let me just copy this and use it to replace the other ones there. So 1 second, let me use it to replace the other ones. So command shift R. So I'm going to replace the other ones with this particular animation. So let's see how it works now. Let me play the interaction. So you can see like this one has this cascading effect, although there's no image, but then you get the idea from how these cards come up. But then let's see if we can even add an image to this one. So I'm going to select all the cards. Oh boy, that's a lot of cards. And I'm going to just open on Splash, and then I'm going to fill them with one image. I don't want to waste too much time, so let's pick one image. Interior. Let's select this one. So it might take a bit of time, but yeah, that's all. They all have images now. So ideally, let's go ahead and play the interaction. So you can see like it has this three like triple falling away effect. But like I said, I prefer the cleaner look of the other one. This one seems to get a bit busy. So I don't think this is like the direction I personally want to go for. It could be what you're looking for, but for me, I think I prefer the cleaner look of the other one. But like I said, let's just get started and see what we can create. So let me reset my stuff back to the original one. So let's see if it works now. Yeah, you have this original just single image effect. So let's get started on how to replicate this. So without much ado, let me create a new page. So let's create a new page in my design, and then I am going to add a frame. To add a frame, press A, and then I manually draw a frame, or I select one of the presets from here. So I prefer going for this desktop preset 1440 by 1024. But like I say every single one of my tutorials, I always say that I prefer using 1440 by 810 because it sits perfectly on the 16 by 9 aspect ratio. I've talked about 16 by 9 aspect ratio before, and I've said that ideally once I set this to 810 and then I were to lock the constrain the properties of the dimensions, and then drop this height down to 9, you're going to see that the width shrinks down to 16, which is why I'm saying 16. So it's just like the 1440 by 810 is just like a scaled up version of the 16 by 9 aspect base aspect ratio. So that's why I prefer going for. And again, like it's the typical it's a standard for for landscape screens. It's the standard, although not every landscape screen comes in 60 by 9 aspect ratio. For example, a Mac screen is not in 60 by 9 aspect ratio, but then I prefer the look of it because it's just like typical for widescreen. So once this has been done, the next thing I want to do now is to actually start creating my design. So you can see the design from here. It's actually a very simple design, but then the magic happens once you like hover over any section. So that's really the idea. It's meant to be something that the viewer does not really expect to see. But then once they come across the website, then just move your mouse, they're just going to be like thrilled by the subtle interaction that happens all over the place when any user hovers over each section. So this is where where the my multi-code magic really is. And the good thing about this is that all of this was done with just one component. So you can see the components here. This is actually the component I'm using. These other components are different, have different styles, which is why I separated them. But this is the particular one I'm using for my design here. It's just like multiple duplicates that have images that have been changed. So let me just switch to their variant so you can see. So this is so you can see that. Yeah, hi.
So can you hear me? Like this is like my first time joining your call, like this is in the afternoon.
Yeah, sorry.
So I can't see the screen.
Oh yeah, I'm not sharing my screen. Sorry, let me share my screen now. And keep in mind that this call is actually being recorded. So yeah, it's
okay.
Thanks for coming. So yeah, typically you can see that the screen is actually like there's multiple images on the screen, and the idea is that they are all hidden because typically they are actually hidden in the default state, but in the other states, which is the view state, I don't really give them contextual names because this is my personal project. But then while we're working, you're going to see how I'm going to be like naming the multi-core states contextually. So yeah, in the default state they are hidden, and then in the view state, which is from the component setup here, you can see that from the component setup here you have the default state hidden, the view state where it comes into view, and then this other final final state. So the ones that I have put on the canvas are just like the default state, so that once I hover over any of them, the other state is triggered. It triggers it to go into the second state, and then this one, once I move my mouse away, like it goes into like the final state as well. So that's basically the idea of this. And this canvas text is actually its own what do you call it, components on its own. So you can see that here you have this version, here you have this version, and then I just put this component, one of the components inside of my design, and then that's basically all I did, and it works out of the box. So let's just see how we can create this. Let's create the actual design first. Let's create the actual design first. Let's create the actual components first, since that's the meat of this component, since that's actually the meat of the design. Let's see how we can get it done. So without much ado, I am going to start by creating a rectangle. This rectangle, I'm going to make it 16 in width, again 16 by 9. So 16 in width, 9 in height, and then I'm going to constrain the dimensions, rather, that's really the word. So once that is done, I can now scale it up by pressing K on my keyboard, and then K on my keyboard. If you're using a Mac or Windows, it works the same way. So if K doesn't work, you can click on the move tool, click on this small icon beside the move tool, and then you see scale. Then you can select it. So once that is done, you can easily just drag the section, just drag anywhere in your design. Okay, it doesn't work. Okay, I've not set it to scale. So scale, and then just drag. So you're just going to scale whatever you're using to scale proportionally. But if you don't want to go that route of having to zoom in and scale, you can just come to this section here and increase by so and so amount of so and so amount of time. So just going to increase by 10 times. Let's see, 10 times still looks small. So I can enter a custom figure, which is like 15. I think 15 works. Yeah, I don't think the images I want. These are the images that are going to like be popping up across once I hover. So I don't think I want them too large. I think I'm going to use the size that I used for this original one. So 190 by 340. It's still on the 16 by 9 space, so I'm just going to come here and enter 140. The width is going to have decimals, but personally I prefer to round it off, so I'm going to round it off to 248 instead of 249, because I just prefer the multi-code even number thing. So yeah, 248 by 140 is the size of the image I'm going to be using. So I can also still play, so I can see that in the frame I'm adding it, so it actually looks okay in size. So let me play the prototype and see how it looks while it's loading. Just give it 1 second to finish loading up. So yeah, so I'm just going to actually just play just so I can see how it looks in relation to the frame which it's inside, because if it's too small, it's not really going to look as good as I want it to look. So I want it to actually be like a decent size. So let's just go with this size. Really, I think it works. The prototype is going to take okay. I think it's too small on this canvas. It looks too small personally, so I'm just going to scale it up to, like, let's say 240. No, 240 looks too big, so let's do 180 instead. Okay, so 180 has some decimal, so I'm going to round it up to 318 instead of 319, which ideally it should be. So 318 by 180. Okay, I think this works. I think this works for the image sizes. So the dimensions of this box, it's of this rectangle rather, is actually 318 by 180. So what I'm going to do now is just to create. I'm going to create a component. I think I can create a component. No, do I want to create a component now? I want to. Yeah, I want to have a second version of it, and then the third version of it. The second version is fine, really. So in this second version, I'm going to scale it down. So in this version, it's going to be scaled down to, let's say, 40. Let's do 40 in height. When I say 40, I mean 40 in height. The width is proportional to the width. So 71 by 40. So I'm just going to bring to my design again and put it side by side so I can see how it also looks on camera. Say, yeah, I think 40 looks okay. I think it looks fine. So that's that for the image size. So this is going to be the size when it shrinks now, and the other one is going to be the size once it expands. Once it expands. So that's really the idea I'm trying to get across here. This is the scaled down version. Then see the zoomed in the big version when I hover over any section of the image. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to have make them black so they can be really visible. Okay, black. Then line left. Okay. So I have this, and the next thing I'm going to do is to let me name the frame. So I'm just going to select both of them and then press Command R, and then name it image, okay, or IMG. I don't like using long names. IMG, okay. So I've named both of them IMG. The next thing I'm going to do now is to frame this one, frame selection here, and then frame the selection here. So I'm left clicking or double clicking if you're using Mac, and then renaming it. So I'm going to select both of them and then rename them. So do batch rename, Command R or Control R, and then name them to IMG frame, I guess. So let's use IMG frame. So this frame is going to contain the image because I want to actually use this frame as a mask to like hide the actual image that's inside. So this is the actual image, and then the image frame or frame. Let's leave it like this. So the image frame, I am going to select both of them now, and then I'm going to turn on clip content. So turning on clip content actually is just to help me, just to make sure that once I move anything, this image that's inside of the image frame, once I move it outside of the frame, it's outside of the borders of the frame, it's just going to like be hidden. So if I were to add a fill, make it red, so you can see. So if I were to turn off clip content, you can see that the actual image inside of the image frame is showing outside of the boundaries of the actual image frame. This is the boundary of the image frame, but then the actual image is going outside of it, and it's still showing because clip content is turned off. So once I turn it on, you see that it chops off that part that's actually outside of the frame. So that's what I want to have for both of my frames. So once that is done, I can remove the fill here and then bring this one back to, okay, do I want to bring it back to the middle? No, I don't think so. So what I want to do actually is to move this image frame, move the actual image to like corners of the image, because let me play the original design so you can see what I'm trying to do here. You can see where I'm headed. Okay, this might take a bit of time to load. Hopefully it does not, but let's see. Okay, so you can see that the actual image actually comes from the corners of from the corners of wherever of the invisible whatever, and then it like zooms into view. So that's actually what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to like make it come from the corner. So depending on where you want the image to come from, you might want to move it around. So if you want it to come from the top, where's the page? Okay, page 2. If you want the image to come from the top, you can just like bring it to the top of the frame instead. So this is the image frame, and the actual image is at the top of it instead of at the corner. So yeah, instead of the top left rather. So I want to actually move it to the top left of its frame, top left here. Okay, so top left here, and yeah, this is good. So the next thing I want to do, I think I made a mistake. So what I want to just do to correct the mistake, ideally this frame should not actually change in size. The size should not change. The size should actually be the same way it is here in this big version. So what I'm going to do is just delete, copy this image frame, this actual image rather, and then I'm going to make a duplicate of this image frame, and then I'm going to paste Ctrl V to paste the image I copied here into this frame. So you can see that the image is now inside of this frame. You can't see it because the what's it called clip content is turned on. So let me turn it off so you can see, okay, it's here. So here now I can now delete this big version. So the idea is that once I hover over this frame, this image here zooms in, enlarges, and then it fills up the available image frame space. So that's the idea here. So you have these two versions set up. So I'm going to turn on clip content now. Make sure clip content is turned on for both image frames. So this is what I want to do first, and then the next thing I want to do is to now create my component. Okay, no, let me finish everything here before I go into creating components, so I don't actually have to start making any changes when it's a component already. So here now I want to duplicate this one downwards again. I'm duplicating it like this so you can actually see like the progression. From here it goes to here, from here it goes to here. So that's the idea. So here now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this image frame to the bottom right. So it moves from here to middle to down. You get, so from here it moves to the middle, it fills into the middle, and then from here it moves to the bottom right. Okay. Although I have to move that out of the frame so you can like go outside of view. So I'm going to go to the image and then move it to the bottom right. These lines are going to tell you where your image is in relation to the frame. You can also turn on, like, add a fill to your frame so you can see it. But make sure that once you're done, turn off the fill for this for the frame so you don't have any issues in your design. So I'm going to have a fill, and then I'm going to look at where the image frame is. So I can turn off clip content so I can see the image frame. So you can see that here is actually in perfect relation to the borders, or to the vertical. So the vertical and horizontal ends of where the frame stops. So that's basically what you want to have. You can move yours differently actually. I think personally I even want to like move it out a little so that like there's this fancy interaction. So I actually want to still space it a bit. So I want to move it 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, so you can see once I measure with by holding alternate or option on Mac, you see that it shows me like the distance away from the from where the original image frame stops. Keep in mind that in the layers panel, the image is still inside of the image frame. So keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind, because if you were to like use your mouse, that's why I personally prefer using keyboard. If I were to use mouse to move it around, I may end up removing the image out of the image frame, in which case it will not work. So that's just something to keep in mind as well. So 20. So I'm going to do the same here as well. Okay, 2. So I'm holding shift, and I'm using holding shift while I'm using my keyboard arrow keys to move the thing around. So yeah, 20 as well. So I think I want to make sure I'm 40 bits. So the speed at which it comes in is different from the speed at which it goes out. So that's just something fancy I thought to mention. So now this is done, I can now select all the frames, these three frames rather, and then turn on clip content for them so that the image that's outside is clipped out of view. So once this is done, I can now go ahead to create my component set. So create component set. So now I have a component set which has all these 3 versions of this one image component inside of it. So here I can just rename this one to okay, let me remove the fill. Like I said, remove the fill so you don't have issues in your design. So I'm going to remove the fill on the image frame. So what I want to do now is to rename this frame here, because just to have order in my components, I want to rename this last one to let's say out. Then this one main. Let me call it main. I'm calling it main because it's the main frame. This one out is just to signify that okay, this is how it is when the image goes out. So this one is in. Let me call this one in. Or I can leave it as default really. Let me leave it. Let me just call it in. So this one is called in. This is main, and then this is then this is out. So intro. Yeah, I should have called it intro, but then intro, main or stay and then this one is just give it contextual name that only you, that you personally understand, or if you're working with a team, give it like a name that all of you guys like understand. So this one is the way it comes in, and then this one is how it stays, and then this is how it leaves out of view. So that's what you want to have for your component set. And then the next thing you want to do is to start prototyping it, because if you to just drag one of them out now, like ideally you're supposed to copy this one here and then paste it in your design. In which case, once I hover over this thing, it's going to do the interaction. But then I've not set the interaction to. It's what I want to do now is to go into the design and start like adding the interaction. So I can just come here and then drag the arrow on this frame to this next frame and set the interaction to mouse enter. I'm using mouse enter. Mouse enter actually and hover actually do the same thing. But the good thing about mouse enter is that you can actually add a delay. So I can say, okay, once I hover my mouse over this thing, it should not just like happen immediately. It should actually like delay like so amount of seconds before the interaction happens. But when you use hovering and while hover does not have any delay. Once you hover about the thing just like happens. So personally, I don't think it works best for this interaction. But if it works good for you, good and fine. So I'm going to add a delay of 100 just because it has like this subtle smoothness to it. That adding a delay like has this subtle smoothness that it brings to the interaction, which is why I'm actually adding. So you can see that once I click, you can see that the multiple images are added. So there's this certain smoothness that adding a delay brings to the stuff. So I want to replicate that in my own design, which is why I'm adding a delay. But if you think that okay, you prefer yours that without delay, you may just actually use while hovering or use a multi-code or while set to while enter and then remove like do not add a delay. So that can happen. But me personally, like I said, I prefer the smoothness that the small delay that adding like the smoothness that adding a small delay brings to the interaction. So I'm going to be adding a delay of 100 milliseconds. You can increase yours, you can reduce yours depending on what you want to create. So I'm going to drag this one next, click on this main component. When I say main component, I don't mean like this main component. This one the name is main, and then main state, main state, and then move it to the outro state. So the interaction I'm going to set to to mouse sleeve. Yeah, that's the word. I was sorry, mouse sleeve. So for this one, I don't think I need a delay for this one. I think I didn't add a delay for mine. Did I add a delay? Let me check. I think I don't want to delay. But like I said, depending on what you want to achieve, you can actually like play around with it. So I didn't add any delay for mine. So I'm going to just make the outro. I'm going to set the interaction to smart animate, and I'm going to set this thing to the easing to ease out, and then set the timing to 800 milliseconds. So for this one, I don't think I did the what's it called, the type of interaction. So I want to set it to smart animate so that it actually animates in a smart manner. So yeah, I'm going to set the easing to easing and out. I think I like easing and out for the way it comes in, but then when it's leaving, I think I want it to ease out instead of easing and out as well. So I want to set the interaction to the timing to 600. I think it's 600 I use for this other one, just to be sure. I want to check if I can achieve that level of 600 as well. So you can increase yours, you can reduce yours depending on what you want to achieve. But this was what I found that works for me, which is why I'm using these numbers and these particular interactions. You can do yours differently, good and fine. So once this is done, the next thing I want to do now is to now populate my design. So this is my design here. Ideally, let me place one of them here. So I've placed one of the just copy one of them. If the way components work, if you're familiar with components, should not like this one should not be strange to you. What I want to do is just copy like the main component with the default state, copy one of the states, and then paste it, Ctrl C, click on it, Ctrl C to copy one of the states, and then click on your design and then paste, like click on your design and then press Ctrl V to paste it inside of it. So like this now I have the the default state, which is the in state. I should have called it default state actually, but yeah, I have the default state inside of my design frame. So I can now play to preview, so you can see how it works. You can see that it's working once I hover over here. But then the issue now I just realized I didn't account for was that what should happen once it goes out. So once it goes out, nothing happens again. Ideally, it means that component is now useless for me. But then you can see that here I can hover over this spot and then come back again and then hover over that, and it still works. So ideally, that's what I want to do. I want it so that once I hover any spots, regardless of whether I've gone or I'm coming back, it still works. So what you want to do now is actually to link this, this out state, this outro state back to the default state. So what you want to set it to now is set it to after delay, set this one to after delay, and then set the easy or the transition type to instant instead of smart animate. So I don't want you to notice when it switches, since they are both invisible, like since they are both states where the image is outside of the frame, you're not going to notice the change that happens. So ideally, I just want you to just quickly jump back to this original state so that the interaction can start from scratch all over again, which is why I'm doing this particular thing. So link it back to the default state, and then set the delay to 0. 1 by default is going to be 1. So the idea is that once I hover over it and then it gets to this state, within 1 millisecond it jumps back to this state, and then I can start the interaction all over again. So that's the idea here. So let me just see how it works now. So this is it. So let me over here. I think this is the spot where I added it. Oh boy, it's not working. Let me reload. So reload tab, so I can try the stuff again. So while it's reloading, let's just give it 1 second. For some reason, Figma takes really long these days. So let me move this around. So the idea is to have this thing reset. So let me just still do a couple of versions around. I'm just going to move them around randomly, so I have more room to try out other spots in the design. It's taking too long. Taking way too long. So while that is happening, I can go ahead and create my canvas. That's if you check this around, it has like this canvas thing. So let me just see if I can quickly create that now. So what I just did for mine was just to add a text, press T on your keyboard, and type canvas. The font I'm using is vertical no way, medium, and then the size. Don't really bother about it. I'm going to scale it up either way. So once this is done, once I've typed out my canvas, the next thing I want to do is to flatten it. I want to flatten it. So flattening it means I want to change it into like a vector. So ideally, text is still editable. Text is not a vector. It's actually a vector, I guess. But then once I convert it into like a path, flattening means it's more of me converting something to a path. So that's really the idea, how I see it work. So once I flatten it, it changes into a path, and I can edit what's it called them like I could if I had used my pen tool to make it. So that's really the idea. So once you flatten it, you can now scale it up as you so desire. You can no longer keep in mind that once you flatten the text, you can no longer edit it as a text. It's now a vector that you can edit with the pen tool. So once I flatten it, I want to scale it up as well to, let's say, 2x. Oh no, 3x is too much. 2x works, I guess. So 2x, I think 2x is fine. And then I'm going to constraint properties and then just centralize in the middle of my design. So canvas, you have this text in the middle of the design. I think I'm going to get an interaction. I will see if I can get an interaction of this canvas in a moment. But sorry, after we're done with the main one. So you have canvas here, and then you can see that this spot now, once I hover over it and hover out, I come back again. It works how I expect it to work. It's like the animation loops all over again. So that's the idea of linking that last frame to the first frame with after delay. So that's really the point of the whole thing. So once you have that done, the next thing I want to do now is to like start adding images. What I want to do to add images and actually have this randomized. So you can see in my original one, I have like this randomized randomized image. I didn't have to like place them myself. You can go ahead and actually start placing all the images yourself. But me personally, I prefer like going the easy way out. So what I did for that was a plugin. I think it's called Poisson. I think Poisson is actually an operation in math. A math operation. I don't really know what it does, but I know it's like in this design. What it does like helps you randomize the placement of of stuff, not just images of anything. It just helps you randomize the image. So what you just need to do to get the Poisson plugin to work is first thing I want to do is to actually delete that okay, I want to duplicate this, and then I want to delete here so I can actually have this as my canvas. So here I want to switch the the state of this one of this one component to the out state. No, not the out state, the main state rather. So the main state where the image, I can see the image, so I can actually know what I'm doing. So I want to switch to the main state, and then I want to have like I want to just duplicate it like a couple of times, It doesn't have to be, you don't have to like place them properly, just have a couple of them. So I want to like have at least a decent amount of images. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's do 8 images. You can do more. You can do more if you have the time and effort. So if you have the time and patience, rather. So let's just select all of them, and then I'm going to click enter to select all the actual images inside of the image frames. And the next thing I want to do is to now fill them with different images. So I want to open Unsplash, run Unsplash plugin, and while it's running, I want to select a couple of, while it's open, rather, everything seems to be really slow. So I'm going to select a theme. So ideally, I just select a theme for your design. So I think the theme that always really works is architecture, interior, or art for this particular kind of for me personally. I have this bias towards using this when I'm doing exploratory design. So I'm going to use like architecture. I think I use interior for the down. So I'm going to use architecture here. I think they have like really good images. So I'm going to wait for it to finish loading. This will take all day because well, yeah, right. It loads a couple of. It's taking too long. It's taking way too long. So ideally, I want to have like a couple of images in these image cells I provided for in my design. So I want to have a couple of images. So let me see if I can load again. Oh boy, it's taking too long. Way too long. Okay. It's taking way too long. And I personally cannot progress. Okay, let's see. Can I progress? I think I can progress without while the image is still come on canvas. So the next thing I want to do for this canvas image now to actually get it to have this looping animation. So you can see that this animation here is actually not affected by the hovering thing I'm actually doing. It's just acting on its own. And like I showed in my design, original design, you can see that here is actually an independent component on its own. So what I want to do is to create it. But before I do, our images are back on. So let's quickly see if we can sort out all of this. So I'm going to select all the components, all the image frame components, and then I'm going to select all the actual images, and then all the actual image frames. Press enter, and it's just going to select everything that's inside of the frame. So I'm going to just to ideally, if I were to press one image, it's just going to fill all these frames with like one image. So to select multiple images, to multi-select, you can just double click. If you're using a Mac, you can use 2 fingers to click down, and then it's going to like select one. But if you're using Windows, I think you can just like left click also, because it's the same action on left click is like double pressing down on Mac. So I'm going to press down with 2 fingers, and then start selecting each of them like one by using 1 finger. So I'm going to just select like 8 images since like I have 8 cells. I can select less, but it's up to you. So I'm going to select 8 images, and I'm going for images that are actually that are landscape, because the image format here is landscape. So I'm going to select like 8. I don't know how I'm going to select. I selected 5. I'm going to select this one, 6, 7. Let me go for seventh one here, and then 8. Yeah, 8. So I have 8 images. I can just press insert image, and then Figma the plugin just does this thing. Although, like I said, this might take forever. So while that is working, we can actually go ahead and start creating this canvas thing. So the canvas thing, to create it, ideally I want to split the text into multiple text. But the easier way to have done this, I have already made a mistake, but the easier way to have done this was actually leave it as a text and then break the text into like single letters. But we've already come this far, so might as well just go the difficult route. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create the canvas has how many letters? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do I want to go this route? I think I personally want to just make my life easier and actually go the easier route. So I'm going to type the canvas again, canvas, and then I'm going to use K to, this is a text now, I'm going to scale it up with K to, let's say, 2x. I think it's supposed to be the same dimension and size as the other one. So yeah, it's the same dimension and size. So yeah, like this now, I think it's easier to work with as a text, to break it apart as a text. So I'm just going to delete the stroke, or rather the path version. I'm going to delete the vector version, and then the next thing I want to do now is to run this plug. Oh, Figma is still running. Sorry, Unsplash is still running. Ideally, I would have run this plugin called insert text that's going to help me break this thing into like single letters. But one plugin is running, so I can't run another plugin. So I can probably just take the zero out and just start typing the letters one by one, and then trying to match them to where they are in the design. So okay, break parts. Yeah, so I'm just going to place them. Just going to place them here. Like, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect. Just try to match them up with where they are in the original design. Move V this way. Move A here. And then S right here as well. So I have C and VS like as single letters, and I've like used my eye to like match them up to where they are on the original text. So I'm just going to delete the full canvas text, and then I'm going to just going to select all of them, and then I can now do I want to outline stroke? Oh boy, we have trouble. It's trouble. So the issue is that once I selected the image I selected went to go and fill what I was working with. I personally thought they were going to fill this one since I selected them already, but then unfortunately Figma is not that smart to keep in mind that I selected something else. So I'm going to select these images again, and let's see if it's going to take lesser time this time. So I'm going to double click. So I'm using a mark. I'm going to select this one, this, just make them 8. If 8 is too much, you might do a lesser number, so it takes lesser amount of time. Okay, insert 8 images. In fact, I think it's supposed to be fast time, so it's loading pretty fast, so it shouldn't take too long, so we can continue. So let's just wait for it to finish. Oh boy. I made another mistake. So the mistake I made now is I'm filling the frames, the image frames, instead of the actual images themselves. So I must go back, Ctrl Z, and Ctrl Z here. There shouldn't be any filler. So I'm going to select all the image frames and then press enter to select the actual images here, and then fill them. Select, double click, and then fill them with individual images. So I'm going to select 8 of them. Oh, it's a pain. So select 8 of them. 8 of them. Yeah, so I'm going to fill them. So it shouldn't take too long before it fills all these what's it called, image frames. Keep in mind the actual images, not the image frame. If you fill the image frames, you're going to have some trouble having to do everything all over again. So this is done. This is done now. The next thing I want to do, so let's just pause on this canvas text. Let's pause on. Okay, let's leave it there. It's not going to cause any trouble. So what you want to do now is to have this desktop frame somewhere with all the 8 images inside of it, and then run your Poisson plugin. Just type PO as you want to type poison, but then Poisson. I think is it Poisson? I think it's French, but I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. But yeah, POISSON. You don't have to type everything complete before you see the plugin. SPOS is this thing. Just run the plugin, and then make sure the frames that it contains all the images selected, because it's going to create a frame, this exact frame, and then randomize the image placement inside of this exact frame. So what you want to do is to select the frame that the image is inside of. They don't have to be arranged properly, and then you want to enter a minimum distance here. What I found out is that if I select 10, like it's going to create like tons of images, like it could be a billion. So because it like has like this operation that's using like I think the distance between each of them is going to be 10. So I don't really want that. It's too much. It's too small. The what's it called, distance is too small. So I want to increase it to something. I found out that if I increase it to something like 140 does like a decent amount of what's it called, images that Figma can still run without, like, if I had to create like more than this, it could like break Figma. Even it could actually break Figma. So I'm going to run it again, but this time I'm going to do a lesser number. 140 seems too scanty, so I'm going to do, let's say, 120. So the smaller the number, the more the images it creates. So I'm going to do 120 instead. So yeah, I think 120 is okay, although I think this one is representing itself too much, this image, but no problem. Let's go with this. So you have this randomized image that Poisson plugin has created for me, and the next thing I want to do now to make them hidden. So let me play them. Let me play the frame. Everything seems to be really small. Maybe it's because I'm using my network to run the meeting as well. So while it loads, let's give 1 second to load up. Okay. That might take forever as well. So while that's working, let's go back to this canvas text. And the next thing I want to do is to, ideally, I could have used this as a text and start like creating what's it called? Creating what do you call it? Frames to hide it, because the idea now is to actually create frames. This interaction was created. This interaction, you can see that if you can tell from we've been doing so far, you can tell that there's a invisible frame. There's a frame that these texts are inside of, and then as soon as the text goes outside of the frame, it just becomes hidden. So that's really what is happening there. So I want to create that. I want to create a frame really, but then if I create a frame, the issue, one thing I found that it's best practice to do is to convert this text to vectors, because if you can see a text box does not actually cover the entirety of the text. A text box does not cover the entire boundaries of a text. You can see that this is where the text box ends, but then you can see that the text itself is actually running out of the text box, which is totally fine and totally normal. But then I don't want to have this kind of thing in my when creating my frame. So what I want to do is to outline stroke. Okay, select all of them. I think I had a quick way. And then outline stroke. Yeah, so outline stroke, ideally, it's not what I'm supposed to use, but then I was supposed to use flatten. But if I flatten is just going to convert it into one. So let me flatten. Flatten is going to convert it into one vector, which is what I want. I want it to be like single letters each. So I want to use outline stroke instead. Outline stroke may not always work, because ideally outline stroke is supposed to actually just take the strokes that are inside of the text and then make them separate from the text. But then it's not what I'm trying to do here. So it works for what I need it for. So once you have outline stroke done, you can see that now this boundary layer, you can see like the boundary box, the boundary lines are actually touching exactly where the text stops. So this is what you want to have. And then once you have this done, you want to now press frame selection. You want to frame selection. So you want to frame selection and call it something like canvas. Let's call it can. So can. And we'll get back to it in a second. So let's go back to our original design. So you can see that it has like multiple images that are on the design. So ideally, what you want to do is to now hide all these images, because images, they are in their visible state. So I want to change it to their invisible state. So just go into the Poisson frame, select everything, and then change all of the, since they are identical frames, it's easy for you to just manipulate the states from here. So you want to change the states back to the in state. So the in state is like the original state where they start from. So that's what you should do. So once you have that done, everything should work as it should. You expect it, as you want it. So you can see that once I hover anywhere in the image, since like Poisson has like randomized the placement of the images, you have like this random image pop up. Although you can still visually by yourself go inside and start like moving it, because you can see that this section here now has like multiple of this particular kind of image like added here. So you can personally still go in and just like move things around to randomize things even more. Move this one here, move this one here, move this one here, move this one. Just move things around just to just make it feel even more random, because you might have some sort of repetition, too much repetition if you're having too many images like stacked in one particular section of the design. So that's what you want to do. So that's once that is done, you can select all the image and then switch it back to the in state, which is the original invisible state. So you can just hover over any section and then you can have this interaction. So you can still go like this now. You can still go back into your canvas, into your what do you call it, component, and then play around with things. So like I said, if you want it to come from the top, you can see that here now it's coming from the side, like from the top left. So if you want it to come from the top, you can just like centralize. Let me centralize. I'm just going to centralize this align horizontal center, so it's aligned to the top of the frame. So you can see that once I hover now, it comes from the top. It comes from the top and then leaves from the bottom. So let me also align this one here to the bottom, to the vertical bottom. Sorry, to the vertical center. Yeah, the vertical central bottom. Vertical bottom. Yeah. So once that is done, you can see once it comes from the top and then it goes down. Comes from the top, goes down. Comes from the top, goes down. So that's just what you want. Something you want to do with your design. But then I think I prefer the other look of the other one. So it's up to you to play around with the way it comes into view. So once this is done, sometimes it's a bit wonky, takes too long to leave, but that's basically the idea of how to create that. So once you have that done, you can now create this canvas to create the interaction that happens with it. It's just for you to create like a duplicate of it. So this is going to be a component as well. I'm going to create a duplicate of it again. So this is going to be original state, and then this is going to be a visible state, and then like that. So the first thing I want to do is to group this set here, group them, Control G, and I'm going to ungroup it again, but I'm grouping it so I can actually like move things around the base. I'm also going to give the frame a color so you can see what's happening. So give the frame a color, or let me give it an obnoxious colored border. Yeah, no, red. So yeah, you can see the boundaries where it stops. So like this now, I have this selected. I want to select the group, and then I want to duplicate the group. Yeah, I want to duplicate the group. Yeah, so I want to have group 1 and group 2. Let me not name it group 1 and group 2. Let me name it first and second. You see why I'm doing all of these naming things anymore? Just to make my work a lot more easier. So once I've grouped it like this, the first thing I want to do is to have this just duplicate again. Delete this one. I don't need it. Since I've made change, I don't want to start making the changes in the other design as well. So I want to just duplicate it so that it has the same parameters as this one. So once this is set, I want to, in this first state, ideally, okay, I want to have so let me explain what is going to happen. So you see, this is the first state. So the second state, this one is going to come from the bottom, and then it's just going to repeat this cycle all over again. So that's the idea here. So in the first state, there needs to be something that's at the bottom. There needs to be one version that's at the bottom. So let me make this one red so you can, let me make it blue so you can see what's happening. So this blue one is going to be at the bottom here. It's going to be at the bottom. So I'm going to space it like, let's do 10, let's do 20 from where it stops. Okay, from where it stops. Okay, from where the frame stops rather. So you can see that everything is still inside of the frame. I'm not moving things outside of the frame. If you were to use your mouse, it may actually like move things. So I personally prefer using like my keyboard and holding shift and then using my arrow keys to move things around inside of a frame if I'm trying to like make small changes. So that's really the idea here. So once you have this second, I think this one should be called second really. Ugh. You know what, let's leave it like that. Let's just leave it like that. So let's leave first at the bottom, and then but it's going to be confusing. So let's name it first, then and then it's second. Okay, so like the way it's arranged in the layers is also the way it's arranged in the design. So the first group is the one that you have visible at first, and then you want to have this one come in. This one slide into view, like move into view, just like you have it here. You want to have I have this motion as well. So to create this motion, it's just for you to stagger the text. I've done this interaction in my older design session, so I'm just going to create it again. So to stagger the text, what you just do is just select the group. That's the second group, and then press enter to select all the stuff, all the text inside. So now you can see from the last one, all the CANVAS text are selected. So what I'm just do is to start moving things. I'm going to deselect the C. To select it, hold shift and then click on it. Hold shift, click on it. Hold shift, just going to be selecting one. So I want to, since this one is already outside of the frame, I don't need to move it any further down, except you want to. So I'm going to just start staggering the text. So I'm going to move this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let's do 5. I think no 5, 6, 7, 8. I think 8 is going to say the same number. So 8, I was holding shift and then I was pressing my keyboard. So holding shift and pressing my keyboard just makes it move like faster. It makes it move in multiples of 10. Except if you set yours to move in multiples of 8, which is totally fine. So I just moved mine 8 times from where it originally was. So I'm just going to hold shift and then click on A to deselect it and then move this the NVAS. Move it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Was it 6? I moved this one away. I think it was 6. And then click on select N. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Was it 6 or 8? Sorry, I think I've lost track of how many times I moved it away. Don't start from the beginning. So I think I'm going to do multiples of 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Deselect A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Select N. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Same. 6, 7, 8. And then the last one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you can see what I mean by staggering staggering the text. So it has like this staggered what's it called view. So the idea is that what Figma is going to do is that once this one is coming to view, this one is going to go first, this one is going to go next, just to create like this very nice what's it called, nice should I call it bouncing interaction. So that's really the idea. So you can see this one comes first, second. So it just creates like this nice waveform format or waveform interaction. So that's really the idea I'm trying to go for. So once I have this done here, I want to have it go up, have it come into view here, and then I want to have this one come into view here and replace this one that's here currently. This one that's here currently. I want to have this one come into view and replace it there, and then I want to have this one go up in this manner, in this staggered manner. So ideally, you can actually do all this moving around the same way I just did it here. But then I prefer going fast using cheating. I prefer cheating. So to cheat, what you can do is just to copy this group, which is why I was grouping in the first place. I personally would not have really grouped them, but then I'm grouping so I can copy from here and paste in this other design as well. So I'm just going to copy from here, from this state, and paste here. And then I'm going to align this, move this to the top instead. So I want to move it to the top instead. Okay, I think this one was 22. Was it 22? 20, okay. So I'm going to move to the top, 20. So you can see it's 20 away from the top of the design. It's inside of the frame. Keep in mind, it's actually inside of the frame. If you check the layers panel, it's actually inside at the top. So what I'm going to do now, just to cheat Figma, is I'm going to rename this group down to first. So Figma is going to think that this first here, this one that's first here, this group that's named first here, you can see that the first group here is actually this one that's here. It's what is going to be moving up like this. So I've renamed this one that was second here before. I've renamed it first here. I'm going to just make it black as well, just like the first. So you can see that it's the same. It's just like this one is moving up here. And then I'm going to rename this one here to second. So like this, I've like done. I can delete the other second that was there. The other second I can delete it. That was there. So this second here now. This one I can change this one to black. So they have the same properties. Figma is not going to know. I know, but Figma is not going to know. So that's just really the logic behind this entire thing. So what I'm just going to select both of the frames, these two frames, that's the can frame, and then turn on clip contents so that the content that's outside of the frame, those CNVs, is hidden. And then I want to now also remove the fill, and then I can create a component set with it. So create component set. So what I'm going to do now is that this here, I'm going to link it with this other one, and then I'm going to say after delay. So after a delay of, let's say, 1200 milliseconds, which is 1.2 seconds. Yeah, 1.2 seconds, I think. It's going to transition into this other state, which by smart animate, and then the animation time is, let's do 600. I think. Let me see what time I used for mine. What timing I used for mine? 1500. Easy in and easy out. Okay, cool. So 1500 milliseconds. Okay. After a delay of 1.2 seconds, let it change into this other state, what's it called, with within this amount of time, or with this duration. So this one, I'm going to link it back to this one. And set it to what's it called, after a delay of the same 1200 milliseconds. Oh no, I'm going to set it to 0 actually, 0. Because I don't want to have to create this interaction for eternity. I actually want it to just be looping. So I want to create that loop. So to create that loop, I just set it to after delay, and then I change the animation type to, animation type, I think, yeah, to instant instead of smart animate. So instant is just going to quickly switch between these two, but because they have the same properties, the same visual properties, you're not going to notice that this one is actually switching instantly to this one. So the animation the cycle just loops all over again. So that's really the point of this entire thing. So I'm just going to copy this canvas here, Ctrl C, copy the initial state, this state, and then paste it in the Poisson design. So this Poisson design is really the one I'm using. So I have abandoned this frame. This frame is no longer of use to me. So I'm just going to select the canvas and then centralize it, align vertical center, horizontal center, so vertical rather, then align horizontal. So it's in the middle of my design. So I can now play this frame, press play, and ideally it should work. So you can see that it just continues to loop, and then I can actually hover around and then have my interaction play the way around. Something I personally like to do for mine, I think it looks good like this, but then I like to create like this layered effect. Because if you notice, where is the original one? This is the original one. This is the original one. No, this is not the original. The original one can no longer find it. But ideally, I personally like creating this layered effect, which is like by having some of the this is the original. So you can see that the text, some of the images are in front of the text, and then some of the images are behind the text. So I want to create this personal. It's not necessary, but I just like the look of it, creating this layered effect. So I want to what I can do to create that in this one, because like this now, I have the can above every other thing. So the can is just above all the stuff, and all the other images are only going to show in the background. This is our design here. I only going to show in the background, which is okay, but I think we can elevate the experience, the multi-code and the interactive experience. So I want some of them to actually be in front of it, some of them to be behind. So just to create like this layered effect. So to do that, I ideally could just move it down a couple of frames, like move the layer down. You can to move the layer down, you just select the layer and then press Command, and then there's this square bracket. Yeah, square bracket. You can just use square bracket to just move it like a couple of images down. But then the issue with that is that you won't know the images that you have, like the images that are in front of it and the ones that are behind. So what I personally did for mine was just select everything. Okay, another thing I want to also, another way to ease your workflow is to give this can here a really long name. Give it a really long name so you can actually easily spot it when you are like scrolling through your layers panel. So just name it just name like one really long name, so it's like it's obvious once you are scrolling through the layers panel. So just name one really long name. So you can see here the name here. Once I select this this Poisson group here, you can see that I can easily spot the CNN because it's like really long compared to the other ones that are just a few lines. This one is really long. I can easily spot it whenever I'm making changes. So what I want to do is to click on the Poisson group, press enter, and then hold Command. Once you want to deselect something from the layers panel, you can hold Command or Control and then click on that thing. It's going to deselect. But then if you're deselecting something on canvas, you have to hold Shift instead. So selecting deselecting on the layers panel, hold Control or Command. But selecting on the visual editor, hold Shift. That's just a trick I learned. Or that's just a trick Figma has. So yeah, I want to hold Command and then deselect the CNN group because I want to make all these things, all the layers visible again. But then I can't edit the component set if I were to select different components that have like different properties. So I want to just deselect the CNN group so I can easily swap the image component to show the main version. So I want to have it like this. So you can see in the main version, you can see that the canvas is above every other thing. So here now I want to just like visually just pick a couple of images, pick like these ones that are in front of that are intersecting where the text is. A couple of them, doesn't have to be all of them, just a couple of them, and then just select like hold Shift and then select them visually select. Since I'm selecting on visually, so I'm holding Shift and then I'm selecting like a couple of images that there are sections that overlap with the with the canvas text, and I'm going to select them visually. Just hold Shift and then click on it. Hold Shift, click on it, and then once you've done that, I can now I can now press Command Shift or Control Shift if you're using Mac. Command Option if you're using if you're using Mac. Command Option if you're using Windows. Control Alternate, and then square bracket close. There's really no way I can. Okay, I think there's an option for it actually. So once I've selected it, I can press right click or double click if you're using Mac, and then move to bring to front. There's no move above every other thing. There's no that option is not here. But ideally, I want to actually move them above every other thing. So in the layers panel, so I want to just press Command Option or Control Alternate, and then square bracket close. So you can see what I mean. Is that actually moved moved all these images that I selected above the canvas. So there's this like layered depth effect that it just creates where the canvas, some of them are overlapping. So I want to still move a couple of them back just to make it look good. Really, this one is not necessary. It's not a necessary step, but it's just like something I personally just think will improve the quality of your interaction. So once this is done, I can now press enter again on the Poisson group, on the entire group, select everything, and then try to identify the CNN group, and then press hold Control and then deselect the CNN group. That's the this canvas text, and then I can now swap the components state to back to in. So like this, I think this is really all you need to know for this particular tutorial. So once I press play, I can let me just reload. Okay, I think it has resetted. So you can see the canvas text has its own thing going, and then I can hover over any section and then have my other person text. This is my other image interaction happen in the background and also all over. Sorry, and also on top of the person text as well. So this is really how to create the interaction that we just did just now. So you can play around, go ahead, play around, and just try to create different interactions. So like I said, you can go ahead and say, okay, you know what, you don't want the emoticon. You want the image here. You want it to go from what do you call it? From I want to increase the corner radius. So from a circle, I want to go from a circle 999 to a square. From a circle from under corners to square corners. So I want to just increase the corners here as well. So you see the change happen in real time. So you can see that it goes from circle to square circle. So you can just like play around with the interaction here. Just keep in mind that what you do here is just going to reflect on every other image that you created. So that's basically all you need to know about this tutorial. So in case you have any questions while you're trying to create this, or you have any challenges, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. I'm always available. Or LinkedIn, really, because Twitter, for some reason, you can't DM someone you don't follow. Or if you follow me, you can DM me on Twitter. So that's really everything. And I'm also going to drop the link to this tutorial. Sorry, the link to this design file in the YouTube comments. So in case you don't know, if you were to go to YouTube comments, just search for Emishaw Victor. So just go to YouTube, and then search for Emishaw Victor. Okay. And then you're going to find this channel where I upload all the videos from the previous design session. So you can just go to videos, and then you're going to see all of the design sessions we've actually done in the past. And ideally, the recent one should be like the top. It should be like the first one you see. So I'm going to upload it and you can find the design. So you can find the link to the Figma file inside of the comment section. So just be sure to look out for that. And like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. So that's the end of today's design session. Thanks for coming. And actually nobody's here. There's only one person here, but yeah, thanks for coming. And someone's actually here. That's cool. That's cool. So feel free to go ahead and ask a question, Jeremiah.
Thanks very much.
Yeah.
Mark, on this creative website, I wanted to ask you if that if I want to code it, already use a no-code website, or you can actually code it with using WDS code to code.
I mean, people do recreate this. This was actually something I saw from like a site, anagram.club. So you can see that this happens there. Although I was able to create this version, but then I felt like it was too busy for my liking. So I went to go and create like a more simplistic version. So people actually code this thing. And you can also use no-code tools. Because if I'm using Figma to create this kind of stuff, I really don't see why you can't create this in like a no-code tool. If Figma is able to like recreate all these like, let me not say complex, but all this stuff, you can see that if the same logic can also be carried over into like no-code tools, and you can be able to build something that works just like you did in Figma. So that's really it, really. So I don't know if that answers the question, Jeremiah.
Yes, I know my question. Thank you.
Okay, that's cool. So like I said, that's probably all, and thanks for coming, and I will see you around or see you next week. Take care and have a lovely rest of the day.